Hey, hello everyone. Dimitri here. Um, I played one song now. It's called Singularity, and it's a new song coming out from my next album, which I finished mixing today. But back to us today. We're gonna have an Inspiria stream. It's episode number 5, if I remember correct. Um, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of news with Inspiria Guitars recently. We have the new guitars coming in a couple of weeks, and we have new models coming out. I'm not gonna say anything else than that, but just check out the website. We have new models coming very, very soon. And just a spoiler is going to be the multi-output pickup that we anticipated a long time ago. Finally is ready. But let's keep going. Today, of course, we have a guest, as usually we do during the Inspiria streams. And the guest is a friend of mine, and he's an Inspiria artist, of course. He's a bass player and a guitar player. And his name is Trey Tate, based in US, a multi-instrumentalist and songwriter. And we are very, very lucky because today he's new, or at least the reissue of his EP has been released. But let me bring him online. Hold on one second. He should be here soon. There we go.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? Thank you very much
Oh,
for
not
doing
much.
this.
Thank you for having me.
My
I
pleasure.
turn on my light. It got dark since we were doing the sound check, so I had to add some light in
Yeah.
here. But yeah,
So do you have windows there?
yeah. Actually, there's a window right here. I don't know if you noticed, but when we first started, it was super bright, and then as it got towards the end, it got really dark, and I was like, that was out of nowhere. So I had to add some
Yeah.
lights.
But I mean, there is like 3 in the afternoon, so it should be still kind of light.
It is. So I live up in the mountains on the east coast of America. So you never know if it's going to rain here or not. We have
Okay.
a joke that if you don't like the weather here, wait 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
it's kind of doing that today. It's starting to get dark and stormy outside. So
But is it more in the north? Which state is that? Is it Virginia?
Virginia, yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
I live in the southwestern part of Virginia. So I'm an hour from Tennessee and about an hour from North Carolina, and less
Cool.
from West Virginia. So I'm kind of right there in the. We have two interstates that kind of connect here, and it's 71 and 77 and 81. So if you're from America, you probably know where that is if you've been on the East Coast before. But yeah,
Hmm. Cool. And maybe you want to talk a little bit about your background as a musician. I
sure.
introduced you as both bass player and guitar player. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering which instrument did you pick up first, if it was the guitar or the bass or something else?
Uh, well, I think I tried to pick up the guitar first. It took me a while before me and guitar actually started clicking. Um, Bass came around when I was in middle school. I think the first instrument that I actually had any success with was a clarinet. And I have not touched a clarinet in over 20 years now. But bass is the instrument that I've been predominantly known for. It's the instrument that I learned when I was probably, I think I started learning bass when I was about 16. And I started playing in, I'm a Christian artist, so I started playing in church and youth worship bands, and then ended up graduating to the adult worship bands. And now me and my wife are actually worship leaders at our church, so I play at church every Sunday. And most of
Cool.
the time I'm playing the Inspiria bass. So
Yeah, that's great. But you say that you were playing the clarinet as first
yeah,
instrument. Which age did you start to play the clarinet?
I want to say that was sixth grade. Gosh, how old would I've been? I guess I
So
would have
sixth
been,
grade is 11.
yeah, 11. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but was it at school or was just like a music school?
Yeah, it was at school. We had I had like music class, and I really only played the clarinet for a couple of months. The one
Okay.
school I was at, we had like a small music class, so I was able to keep up really well. And then about halfway through the year, we moved across the county, and to a different little town. And that town had a bigger music class. I think the first music class there was maybe 10, 15 of us. When we moved, the class that I got put in was like, I want to say like 40 of us, 30, 40 of us. And they were actually, they were at a more advanced level
Mm.
in their learnings than what we were at. So I got really frustrated, and I ended up dropping that class, and I haven't played clarinet
Okay.
since. But I was okay. I was starting to get the hang of it, but I just, once it got to where, these people were already learning this part, and I'm still back kind of more at the basics. It just kind of got a little frustrating. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I have a similar story because in my case, I started to play. I mean, I never talk about that, but and I actually found out recently that my first experience as a musician was when I started to play the flute, like the regular flute. I don't know what is that
yeah,
called in English, you know. And it
yeah.
was at the primary school, so I was probably 10 or something like that. And
Okay.
I learned how to read music, but I never thought about that because when you learn something, suddenly it becomes very natural still. And when you
Yeah,
learn something at that age, especially, it's gonna be staying there forever. That skill. So
yeah,
so basically, I think it was very important for me to develop in early age as a musician, even though it was just like maybe 1 hour a week or whatever. But we were practicing during the week, and I got
yeah.
familiar with music. So my question is, do you think that playing the clarinet was some kind of way to get started in this world? Do you still remember how to read? Because it's based on reading, I guess. Also,
Right.
the clarinet being like a classical instrument, right?
Yeah. Um, I don't really remember, and I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that clarinet, the reading for that is different. I remember. I know how to
Yeah.
read. I know how to vaguely read a little bit of music. Like I know the very basics. Kind of getting into that. Growing up, I always had kind of. I hate to say learning disability because that makes me seem like I had. It makes it seem a little bit more extreme. I have really bad ADHD, so learning for
Mm.
me has always been kind of a hard thing. I always kind of. I've never mastered a single thing in my life. I've gotten decent at things, but I've never mastered anything. I'll like kind of teach my or learn and teach myself up to a point, and then my brain goes, okay, we're throwing everything out the window, and we're just gonna do what works for us.
Okay.
And sometimes I hate that I'm like that, but it's also kind of a superpower. But
Yeah.
reading music is one of those things. It's not something I practice a whole lot, but I still kind of every once in a while, like I'll see like a Facebook post and it'll be like, "Oh, can you read what this says?" And I'm like, "Okay, I figured it out. Like I can read it in that sense." I played tabs more growing up on like guitar and bass, and nowadays, like with church and stuff, I tend to do with church. I'll be specific about that. With church, I do chord charts.
Mm.
So I'm sure you've seen chord charts. It's the lyrics and then you've got the
Of
chords.
course.
That's what I tend to do a lot there. I don't like to, and a lot of times with worship bass, I like to leave room for me to kind of just improvise and come up with something like the morning of playing. I like to have fun with that. Now, if there's something like specific in a song that like really makes a song, I'll learn that. But a lot of times with like worship music, it's very different from metal. So it's kind of you're just playing along, and you can kind of just fill in when you want to. Which as a bass player, I like that. I like being able to just kind of come up with my own thing and make a song a little bit more mine than feeling like I'm just covering it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And about like what kind of how can you describe the music that you play in the church? Is it like something coming from gospel and blues and stuff like that, or is something completely different?
yeah, yeah. I think especially in modern day church music, you get what's called contemporary Christian music, is what it's called. It tends to be a bit more. It's definitely got some blues, some rhythm and blues. It's got definitely some pop. Me and my drummer at our church, he's actually a metalhead too. He's in his 60s. He's been playing rock and metal for 30 some years, if not 40 years, and me and him always joke that we like to take some of these poppy songs and add our own little like rock and metal flair. And luckily, we are at a church where they appreciate that more than most churches. Some churches would frown upon that, but our pastor's a really cool guy, and they've all the church that me and my wife are worship leaders at. I've been going to this church off and on since I was 13, and they played a very pivotal part in me playing music. I remember being like, now I was a little bit older, but this was when I was probably 18, 19. And the church they would have us go to what's called, it's called Youth Quest. And basically it's like, it gives, church kids like an avenue to like kind of hone in talents and, show off talents and kind of work on them, and things that you might use in like the church as something that you would do for a church later on, but they kind of give you a way to do that. And I went for a couple of years, and I always played metal. I remember one of the first times that I did anything, me and a buddy of mine, we did just a guitar rendition of Monster by Skillet, and he completely rewrote it and made it to where it was like, I love that song, but it is kind of a simple song, but he rewrote it to where it had like, it was a whole different rendition. It started out like Monster, and then it kind of went into its own thing. So it was really cool to do that. But yeah, from that to when I would write original compositions. In fact, one of the songs I'm playing today, I originally wrote to do at this talent competition. Now it's been rewritten and redone for my EP, but yeah, I originally wrote the main riffs and stuff for this talent competition way back in the day.
Cool. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about the EP that is going to be released today, but basically it was released before and then it was re-released. Did you do like a remastering version or?
No. So what happened was when the EP was originally released, it was a self-release. So I released it on my own, and I did most of the production on it, all but I want to say one song I sent and had it like mixed and mastered more than what I did. And then I got it back and I actually mixed and mastered it a little bit more to get it exactly the way I wanted it. But essentially, a couple months ago, my music got hit, with the climate of today, with AI and all that. Everybody's cracking down on anything that even looks like artificial streams. And they actually hit me with, accused me of having like artificial strings. Wow. And they reached out to me. I worked with them. I gave them all the information I had. I was like, listen, I'm on a record label. We do marketing. I'm on playlists. I'm like, there is no paying anybody to listen to my music. There's no paying to be on a playlist or anything like that. Nothing like that, and it was so sad because I was just about to hit, I think 45,000 streams on my EP in just over a year, which I know that's not a crazy amount. It's not millions, but for somebody from my area, for somebody from the small town where I'm from to hit something like that is absolutely insane. But yeah, they hit me with that, and the distributor basically said, we have a no tolerance policy. They froze all my royalties. So the $23 that I made from streaming, they froze that. They took down all my music, all of that. So, ended up having to change distributors. And, basically I talked to Aaron, who's the head of our label. I talked to him and our, Jen, our marketing, the person, and was just like, listen, so this is a negative thing. Let's turn it into a positive. I'm putting the music back out. Let's put it out as an official release through the label. We can market it like that, and now it'll be that. So it's not, there's not really anything different. I didn't remaster it or anything like that. But it is now officially a Resurrection Records release. So, turn a negative into a positive. So,
of course. Very cool.
But just want to reiterate, I did not pay for any streams. None of that, come from, at least not from me. Now, if somebody took my song and put it on a playlist, because in Spotify, you can take a random song and put it on a playlist. And if you, use AI or something, it can. Yeah.
So sometimes it's very difficult to deal with distributor because, recently I didn't really have a problem with a distributor, but there was an artist that I play with that. So making long story short, basically, there was somebody who made a cover or took a picture of the cover who demand to have the rights of that cover, And in my case,
Gotcha.
my distributor just asked me who had the rights of the cover, and I say, well, I have the rights, and I can show you that. And at least they asked me. But the other person
Yeah.
that was in that record, instead, they had a different distribution for that music, and they just took everything off,
Yeah.
all his catalog off that distributor, and they said you're
Yeah.
not allowed anymore to do. So it's I understand at the same time that
Yeah.
there are like so many artists that it's very difficult for a distributor to just deal with everybody. So they have some
Yeah.
kind of standard policy, and they think like it's just worth to just get all the music
Yeah.
off, and that's it, and just move
Yeah.
forward. So also the communication is difficult, slow, and some
Mhm.
artists sometimes they don't answer. So it's very very complicated world. It's very oversaturated and all this. So
Yeah.
it's at the same time nowadays it's very easy to distribute music, which is a good thing. But the
Yeah.
other side of the sword is that there are millions and millions of bands. So it's very
Yep.
difficult to navigate in this madness sometimes. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
But you mentioned that you engineered and produced the EP by yourself? Is that correct?
For the most part, the main single, which is the one I'll be playing on bass, it's called "The Journey." I technically I mixed it even before I sent it in, but I actually used somebody off of Fiverr. I sent it to two different people on Fiverr and had them mix and master it, and I picked which one I liked best. I did that because, at that point specifically, I was a DIY artist. This was before I became an Inspiria artist. This was before I got on the label. I think I had one endorsement at that time. No, I'm sorry. I had two endorsements. I had the merch endorsement through my merch guy, and I had endorsement through WB Gear. But um, yeah, so I very even now being on the label, I was actually talking to Jen, the marketing person for our label, um, the other day. But I'm still, even though I'm on a label, I'm very DIY. I do a lot of things myself. There's stuff even with like merch that I've done that's like I'll have it made up and done, and then I'll sit here and put things together or put little odds and ends. I did CDs when I released the EP originally, and I had like little like cards and stuff that went in there, and so I got the CDs in the pack. I put all the little extras in there, and then I actually, I had the shrink wrap paper that they sent with it, and I did all that myself. I was like, it wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't like I was doing 200 CDs, but it was like 50 or 60 CDs, and I'm sitting here with a hair dryer. So everything
Mm.
that comes from Trey Tate music, my hand has been a part of at some point in time, if not completely done it myself. So, um,
Very cool.
but yeah,
But now
I
you
don't
have
know.
CDs as well, or just digital distribution?
I have CDs. I haven't reordered, but I think I still have a good bit of CDs. I haven't I
Okay,
haven't sold a.
you mean from the first printing?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, they actually but they actually have Resurrection Records on that. Even though it wasn't a Resurrection Records release when I did the
Okay.
CDs.
Okay. Mm.
So I said that wrong. I didn't have the CDs done right when the EP was released. I had them done a little bit later in 2024. So
Okay.
I was
Oh, okay.
already
Gotcha.
I was already on the label, and I actually have Resurrection Records on the CD packaging. So even though
Hmm.
I wasn't on the label when it came out, I was on the
Yeah.
label when I had these made up, and I wanted to
Yeah.
showcase that. I love my label. I love my label mates, and I love the guy that's over the label. So very
Cool.
much like if you can't tell it, if I'm with somebody, if I'm with a brand, I'm repping that somehow. Inspiria. I've got Inspiria shirts. I told you a little bit ago. I had
Yeah.
Inspiria
Yeah. I know.
stickers made.
I know.
I've got Resurrection Records and Inspiria on my banner. So
But
even
I really appreciate your attitude when it comes to that. I think you are a very serious endorser,
yeah.
and I think you have very good skills when it comes to promote
Thank
yourself,
you.
and
Thank you.
marketing yourself, which is a rare thing in this world because a lot of musicians, they just want to play,
Yeah.
but of course you need to be able to do a lot of different things,
Yeah.
especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Nowadays, because it works in a completely different way comparing
Yeah.
to back in the day. So you need to be able to promote yourself, doing video, editing
Yeah.
video, and all this. And I think
Yeah.
you're very, very good at that.
I
It's
appreciate that.
you're a
That
really
that
hard worker.
Appreciate that. That actually goes back to what we were talking about earlier with when I was talking about like, I learn things to a certain point and then I kind of do my own thing or I'm kind of move on to a different thing. Luckily with me, and I don't want to downplay my musicianship. I know I'm not a guitar virtuoso. I'm not. I've never been trained in guitar. I am a YouTube guitarist. That's how I came up. I watched Marty Shorts and really did that and just put the guitar in drop tuning and started playing. But when I started to do this as an actual thing, I knew that I wasn't going to be. I'm not going to make it completely just off my playing alone. I know I have to be kind of a whole package. I've got to be able to play guitar, play bass. I've got to be able to sing. I've got to be able to do the marketing. Luckily, I have a background in graphic design and web development. I love photography, videography, so these are things that I love to do outside of even doing it for myself. I've actually started doing it with other people. I'm actually the person that is my songwriting partner. Me and her are working on a song for her, and I'm doing the production on that so far. The band I was telling you about earlier, Blue Ridge Revival, I'm their digital media manager. So I'm the guy who's put their music out on streaming. I've made their EPK. I just did a photo shoot for them. So my hand is all over when it comes to that. I'm actually even I'm part-time sound tech at a local music venue. It's called Millwall Theater. So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. I know I'm not going to be the best at any one field, but I figure if I can add be good at a lot of different things and make that a whole package, I can take myself further than trying to just put myself in one corner. So
Yeah, I completely understand you. I was thinking about that today. I was thinking like, I did some graphic design. I'm not a good designer at all. I just, I did that and I sent it to whoever was waiting for it. And I was like, this is what I can do. It's okay. I mean, it could be better, of course, but
right.
I'm not a professional at doing that. I mean, I'm a guitar player and I have some extra skills here and there because it's important to have nowadays. Otherwise, you just play in your room. So and in my case, I am a trained musician because I attended the Musician Institute and all that. But I started to play the guitar by myself, so I just went to the Musician Institute afterwards. And of course, I mean, times change. When I started playing, it was working in a completely different way because you had a record label doing stuff, and your only work was show up at the rehearsal room and just practice with your band and maybe organize some gigs here and there.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's a completely different thing, the music business and all that. So, and when it comes to you were talking about your technique and all this, everything depends on the music you play. It's important that you make your point across, and you just need that amount of technique there. You don't need to play pop music and be able to do what John Petrucci does or whatever. So. And then again, if you can use that time to do other things that are anyways benefiting your music, like promoting and all this, is also important as well.
Yeah.
So, but you mentioned a song before. Maybe you want to play that. Is it going to be on the bass?
Yeah, sure. We'll play bass.
So this bass is DLP4.
Yes.
The first Inspiria guitar bass. We have the new basses coming now in August. It's going to be the 4-string and the 5-string, DLP4 and DLP5. So kind of a precision, but with also a jazz pickup at like a humbucker. Yeah, at the bridge.
I've had my own little flair to it in a couple of ways. I did like a white binding on it here. Obviously, I put my logo on it, and I don't think I even showed you this, but I put
no, I didn't see that. Very
custom
cool.
nameplate made. I'll have to send you a better photo of that. I found these guys on Amazon, and it's even got an Inspiria serial number. I had one made up just for it.
But it's very funny because the new version of that has this stuff there.
Really, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
I put on Geiger tuners. As you can tell from this one and the DLP6, I'm a huge fan of red and black. Those are my two favorite colors. So I don't like a lot of chrome, but so I kind of black out as much as possible. Only thing that's not blacked out or red is the strings, and I've played with colored strings before, and I do not like them. So
And then again, the tuning mechanics of the new basses are black.
okay, awesome.
So basically, you came before us, with those ideas. Very cool. All right. So what's the name of the song?
This one is called "The Journey." This is the main single. This single has actually been on a bunch of radio stations. I've actually topped quite a few Christian music charts with this song. There was one radio station where it was actually number one for several weeks, and it was actually top 10 all but 1 week for about 16 weeks. So
Cool.
uh,
Congratulations.
thank you,
Very cool.
thank you.
So let me see. You're gonna be alone on stage. There we go.
All right,
All right.
start it up.
Ready to go. Whenever you want.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine.
I'm sitting here on my knees. I'm pleading
Very cool song.
Thank
And
you.
in the meanwhile, I saved your album here on Spotify, which is called Graffiti. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Cool. Back on Spotify from today, basically. So just
Yes.
for since some hours.
Yep. Came out at
Cool.
midnight local time for
Yeah.
me, so EST.
Cool. And yeah, you said you produced that by yourself, so maybe you can talk a little bit about what you use in the studio, like
Um,
bass wise or guitar wise, and do you use any drum machines, or do you play drums?
so I don't play drums, and I don't know why I'm getting out of focus, but um, so I don't play
Just do
drums
like
up.
this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There we go. Um, I wish I played drums. I have tried to play drums many times, but I can't. I've used, I've purchased drum tracks. There's a YouTube channel who I've bought most of my drum tracks from, and I can never think of how to pronounce his name. It's like Arnaud or something like that. I know he's like East, not Eastern, but he's European as well. I'm not sure exactly where he's out of. I'd have to go back and look, but I've been buying some drum tracks off of him for several years, and I get them licensed to where I can actually
So
use them
you mean
commercially.
you're buying some loops?
But yeah, I guess you'd call them loops. They're full drum tracks. What you heard there, that's the whole track
And
is
is it MIDI? Do you get it MIDI or audio?
I believe it's just audio. It's been a while since I've plugged one in.
Hmm.
I started using. There's another YouTube channel that I found, and I've been using those to write. Some of the new material that I'm writing. I'm kind of using one specifically that I've actually was in the studio working on yesterday. That I'm hoping to finish up in the next. Well, as soon as possible. Obviously, I just had a kid and I have to go back to work in a couple of weeks, so go back to my day job. But I'm hoping to get that song out as soon as possible. Me and my songwriting partner have been working on that one for a good little while. But I'm using a drum track in that one as kind of a placeholder. I really want to have. I'm probably going to have somebody from Resurrection Records, one of the drummers on the label, maybe fill in on drums on that one. Still kind of up in the air. I haven't actually talked to anybody, but that's what I want to do. I want to do more stuff like that where I'm collaborating with other artists and using drummers and even guitarists, bassists, vocalists from some of the other bands, and not just in Resurrection Records, but I'm open to collaborating with mainly mostly anybody. Just depending on the song, it's got to be the right song. But yeah, back to the question. Yeah, I've used drum tracks for the most part on the EP. There's one song, it's called "The One with the Beats," and it's kind of like a fusion song. It's like a little bit hip hop, a little bit kind of like dubstep in a way. I actually built the beats,
Okay.
the beats for those. I used samples to build them, but they're like stock samples that I used off of a website called Soundation. And I have been kind of off and on using them and toying with that company, or not that website, for many years now. That's the first official thing that I ever really did with them. So I built out the beat, and then I layered over the guitar and the bass, and all that, the different guitars. There's obviously more than one guitar track on there, but all the different guitars I layered over, and bass. So yeah, I still didn't completely build out the beats, but layered the different samples and put the different samples together to
Uh-huh.
build what is the beat. Um, but yeah,
Which uh, which DAW do you use?
so currently I'm still using GarageBand. I'm
Okay.
hoping to. I've had plans for a while to switch, and that kind of goes back to what me and you were talking about earlier with the computer. I'm kind of in a place of, do I want to switch to something now or wait until I get me a computer that can handle it a little bit better. This computer that I've been working off of is a 2015 MacBook Pro, so it's kind of, I've upgraded it as much as it possibly can, but this like the actual upgrading from Apple, but I've actually upgraded the computer. I've put a new motherboard in it. I put in a new hard drive in it, everything to make it as optimal as possible, and it still can be laggy some days. So I'm kind of in a thing of where I don't really want to change DAW until I get a better computer. So kind of in that
But
people, but
is that going to be Mac as well, or you're thinking
I don't
maybe
I don't know
to
yet.
change?
I've never been a big Apple person.
Okay.
Just anyway, I'm like phone wise, I'm an Android user.
Okay. Mm.
Computer wise, I've been Windows pretty much my whole life. But getting a Windows computer that runs as good as a MacBook does, like a state of the art MacBook is it's just as pricey. So it's kind of back and forth. I'm up in the air on all of that. I'm up in the air on which DAW I want to use. Right now, GarageBand serves its purpose. It does what I need it to do as far as, getting things out. At some point, I do want to switch up, but yeah, I use that. As far as other equipment, I use a Focusrite 4i4 as my interface. Guitar-wise, I've used anything from the new stuff, obviously, is going to be on Inspiria. The stuff on the Graffiti EP was on, I think I have... probably have PRS on there. I've definitely got some Schecter, Fender, all kinds. Microphone, I've got the Shure SM7B. So I've been upgrading my studio stuff for a number of years. So I feel like when I tell people I'm still using GarageBand as my DAW, they're like, "Oh, that's kiddie stuff," and I'm like, "Sure," but I've been working on everything else outside of the DAW, getting that to where it's better equipment.
I use Cubase, but our process, mine and yours, is pretty similar, anyways. Even though people consider Cubase like a high professional standard, which it is, but our the way we do things is still the same. I was thinking the other day that even though I play rock music, my approach nowadays, because I do a lot of stuff by myself. The process is more like electronic music, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes I do play drums, but even though I play drums, I post-produce the drums in a way that it might be just written in, like quantizing and maybe changing samples here, doing looping and all this. Is the same process as electronic music. But when you listen to that, it sounds like a full hard rock, heavy metal band, So, we have a similar process, but you use GarageBand and I use Cubase, which they serve us in the same way, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So if you are good with GarageBand, and I know a lot of people who use GarageBand, so I never did that, because I use PC. So for me, always been way easier to use Cubase. But I have tried a couple of times. I've seen how it works, and it works in a very similar way. So
and it's great. I actually bought a I don't know if you follow like the company Musician's Friend, but they have like their stupid deal of the days. And I actually recently bought the name of I'm gonna forget it now, but it's like a little audio interface that essentially is made to plug into an iPad or an iPhone. And you can run your guitar into it. You got output on it. You've got auxiliary into it. You can actually like I've brought up GarageBand and brought up what I'm playing, left GarageBand, went to YouTube and played a video to play along with it. And it works, fantastic. I think it's normally like $100. I paid $50 for it. So I was like, yes, this will work for like.
Is it an iRig?
No, it's not an iRig. It is, it's right here. It's by Positive Grid. It's called Riff.
I never heard about it. It looks like a pedal or something.
It does. It very much does. But this is something that I bought for. So I'm not playing live shows for myself currently. I was actually wanting to in 2025. And then we found out my wife was pregnant. So now that's kind of pushed things back. So I'm kind of doing like I told you earlier, where I'm featuring with my buddy's band and going and playing with them a little bit. That way I'm not playing a whole live show, but I'm trying to get a little bit more involved with like some of the labels shows and stuff. And I'm going down. We have Resurrection Fest down in Georgia next month, and I'm not playing at it, but I am kind of talking at it a little bit. I'm introducing one of the bands and getting to be there with my label mates. But I kind of got something like this for having that in mind of like eventually when my child gets a little bit older, I do want to get to that point of being able to go and play some live shows. And this is a great tool for me to be able to play bass or guitar from an iPad in a hotel room. So that's kind of the idea behind this. But yeah, this is all it is. It's one knob. You click it, and I mean, it's, not to be a plug because I'm not sponsored by these people. I bought this out of my pocket, but it's a cool little device to be able to do stuff like
what's
that
the brand?
with. And Positive
The
Grid.
brand is Positive Grid. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Mm.
Positive Grid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah, real cool device. But that's kind of like a mobile piece of equipment. I'm trying to think of what else. That's the most of my rig. I've got the Headrush MX5, which has kind of become. I'm working it into studio time, but I'm kind of using that live because I can use it for bass or guitar, and it be kind of
Okay.
versatile in that way.
So in the
Um,
studio, you're using plugins or you're miking amps. What do you do?
so in the past, I have mostly used plugins. Specifically, so for guitar, I don't mind plugins for guitar. I kind of almost prefer it because I can get I can get the plugins to sound a little bit more like I want it to. The Headrush, I'm still kind of learning, and I kind of tweaked it. After me and you hopped off off of the sound check today, but I tweaked it and got it a little bit better. But it's still not completely where I want it. As far as bass, I'm actually for this next for the next bit of music, I'm thinking about miking it, or at least something that I'm going to be toying with is doing a channel direct in and miking it so that I can kind of compare and maybe even mix that together a little bit to get a better sound, because I have noticed in my recordings previously that the bass, it takes me a while to get it to where I want, and still it's missing just a little bit of that. Like, I feel like bass with like plugins and just running into the DAW, it kind of misses a little bit of
Yeah.
that actual sound. And as a bass player,
Yeah.
I'm very particular. I'm probably more particular about my bass sound than I am my guitar sound. I like the bass. I don't like it super like boomy and bassy. I want like a little bit of top end, a little bit of middle, and kind of real EQ'd on that low end. I want that punch. Obviously, as a bass player, you want that punch, but I don't want it all punch, because if you can't hear some of the runs and stuff that I'm doing, I didn't get that song. I don't have a lot of runs on because I'm sticking pretty close to what the guitar's playing, other than when it goes into like the chorus and the bridge. But typically when I'm playing bass, like I want you to be able to hear the high end when I'm getting up there, and if it's too low, a lot of that gets muddied. So I'm pretty particular about my bass sound and how it comes across. I'm always kind of, especially like at church, I'm always like picking and.
Do you write on the bass or the guitar or both?
So I typically write on guitar, and it's very, to bring this up, it's very interesting, the dichotomy of me as a musician when it comes to bass and guitar. So bass, I'm like a playful kid. Like, I can go play in front of anybody and just be dumb on bass and be fine. Guitar, I'm a little bit more reserved. I'm a little bit more shy on guitar. It's kind of like a personal space for me. So I tend to write more on guitar. And I tend, it's funny because I do consider myself more of a bass player most of the time, but I play guitar way more than I do bass. I hardly ever
Okay.
practice on bass. If there's like a song or something that I'm practicing for old church, sometimes I'll just practice the bass parts on the guitar, and just, it's just a little easier because the guitar is, I've always got guitars out. Sometimes my basses are at church. So
Yeah.
it just depends, just depends on where the bass is at or whatever. But I typically play guitar a little bit more than I do bass, but I still consider myself more of a bassist. I'm a little bit more proficient on bass a lot of times. So
Cool. And which kind of plugins do you use? Because what kind of, is there any particular brand when you record?
for guitar, and I actually, I bought one here a while back. I'm glad you said that because I completely forgot about it. I've used Jason Richardson tones for a while. Or not Jason Richardson, Lord, Joey Sturgis tones, JSTs.
There we go. Yeah, I was about
Yeah,
to say that.
not.
I have the same.
I had a Jason
I
Richardson tone from JST, is what it was.
Okay.
But I actually, here a while back, I think I bought a who was it? Rex Brown. I think I bought a Rex Brown plugin, and I've not even put it in the computer yet because I've been working on guitar and vocals, and I haven't got to bass yet on the new song. But I think I bought that, and I'm gonna try that out. That's kind of what I was talking
The
about
Rex
earlier with like
Brown, which brand is that? The one on the Rex
It's
Brown is
it's
supposed to be
JST.
like. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. It
Gotcha. I thought it was a
that's
neural recipe.
no, no. That's
Mm.
all that I really know about it. They had it on sale because JST can be kind of expensive for their plugins, but they're super great about having like flash sales. So I think I paid like 10, 15, $20 for that plugin, and it's usually like 100 plus. So I still have got to actually get it in my DAW and get it going, but I was super pumped about finding that deal and trying that out because typically up to this point, guitar I've used, like I said, I've used not Joey, Jason Richardson. I have a plugin from JST that's Jason Richardson tone. I've used it a little bit. I've used some house, like just in GarageBand stuff, and just tweaked it until I got it the way I wanted it. But I don't want to do that a whole lot in the future. Not that they're bad, but I kind of want to get more of just a more defined, cleaner sound, uh, cleaner distortion sound, but cleaner is not muddy and
Mm.
that kind of thing, not convoluted. But so I'm the kind of person that like I'm never just gonna stop. Like if I do something new, I kind of want to tweak it and maybe try something different. So I'm not completely set on any one plugin or anything. To be honest, when when I'm practicing in my studio here, I typically either do straight out of the DAW, or I have an old Line 6 practice amp that honestly I get it like for the distortion. It's got like it's called Insane. It's
Yeah.
just a insane, and a lot of times that gives me like when I want distortion, that's got some of the best. Just like that's the kind of distortion sound that I want.
It's
So I practice.
I mean, it should be very old because I remember like I bought the Line 6 Pod in 2004. I mean, it was
Yeah,
out in 2001 actually, and there was one. You had like the knob to find which kind of amp you want to use, and there was one which was called Insane. And in the
yeah,
beginning, I thought like the most insane thing when it comes to sound, like in the 90s, was the 5150 PV, and I thought it was
yeah,
that, but it was sounding different. So I always wonder what this Insane was, and probably it was a Line 6 amp. So now
yeah,
we
yeah,
found out. Yes. Hmm,
yeah.
cool. And what about your? Because I heard that you were singing that song, right? It was you singing and screaming,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
both.
Singing
Yeah.
and screaming. Yep.
So, what kind of influences do you have when it comes to? I mean, in general, because I hear. I mean, of course, you are a metal player, metal
Yeah,
singer, and what kind of influences do you have when it comes to bands? You mentioned Rex Brown, so I think Pantera is part of the game because I
yeah,
hear
yeah,
some of their like southern rock, coming
yeah,
in.
yeah. Definitely kind of like that southern rock and even like southern metal. Um, it's all over the board. I mean, obviously, like I said, my background is in Christian music, so like with bass, it's honestly like there's a lot of funk influence. There's a lot of like
Mm.
stuff like that. There's a lot of anything soulful like that. I love. I'm a huge and even especially getting into like the guitar side of things. I'm a huge like blues fan, and people they never anticipate me being a blues fan because they hear the music that I make and they're like, oh, that's not inherently blues. But if you listen to
But
like the way that
blues is everywhere,
very
all
true
over the
that
place,
yes, yeah,
every music.
yeah. If you listen to the way that I solo, so typically when I'm writing, like the riffs that I write, they're always it's very metal inspired. It's very heavy metal, metalcore, that kind of thing. I love like Kill Switch Engage, For Today. Um, Gosh, now I'm thinking of it. Bullet for My Valentine. I like Trivium, stuff like that. But when I get into a solo, my solo technique and my solo playing is a bit more on the blues side of things than the metal side of things. I'm not a shredder. So I get into like I work on like I want that feel. Like I'm not going to be able to do super insane sweeping, but sometimes that can be overused anyway. So I want it to feel whatever I'm playing. I want you to be able to feel it. I want it to tell the story of what the song is. I want you to be able to feel that in the solo. But a lot of times that comes out very blues inspired. Like the solo for that song that just played. The first half is not me. That's the feature on the song. It's Anthony Cardi. who's a good friend of mine. I've known Anthony for years. He's actually how I ended up getting on Inspiria
Yeah,
because
that's right.
I knew about him first. But the second half, the second part of the solo is me, which is it's cool because he is very much he went to school for music. He can do all the shredding and stuff. So when we were crafting that, I wanted it to mesh and be like I can't play exactly, I can't play like he can with some of the technique and stuff that he can play, but I wanted it to lead in and be kind of like a partnership of like, even though it is two different guitarists, they flow together really well. And like, I think that's one of my favorite solos that I've ever written. Cause it's just, it's really soulful and it's not super fast, not super crazy, but it does have a lot of soul and it's got some cool little licks in there that I'm really proud of. But, yeah, I think it's really soulful and fills the song really well and fills, the gap from going to him to me and then back into the song really well. So I think it works out really well. But
Cool. Do you have plans about touring, having like a band following you? And in
so
that case, do you have any idea about how many musicians do you want to have, like several guitar players or
right,
keyboard players or whatever?
right. So the like I said, I was planning on trying to at least do a couple of shows this year. But once we found out that my wife was pregnant, it kind of put all that to a halt. And it's really kind of a funny story because I was actually actively looking to put together a band, and trying to put together something in my area is a little, it's a little crazy because there's not a lot of Christian heavy metal people in the Bible Belt, so putting together a band like that, because I'm not, not that I have anything wrong with people that don't play Christian music, but if I'm going to have somebody playing my music, they do have to kind of, they've got to be, in the same path as me in that, I don't want anybody faking anything. I don't want to put anybody in a position where they have to fake anything or, because my music in the way that, the label is set up and everything, like it's still considered a ministry. Yes, it's music, but we're doing it to reach people with a message and everything. So I don't want to put anybody in a position to where like, something like that. But so having to be careful with that. I had a couple of people, I had a couple of nibbles. I had one guy that was kind of interested in playing guitar for me. And honestly, as far as like how many guitarists and stuff like that, we could probably make it work with 1-2 guitarists tops. And that's if I'm playing bass or whatever. I will probably, the way I see it is I'm going to switch between guitar and bass. The instrumentals, I'm probably going to play more guitar. The
Do you
singing
play
songs,
acoustic guitar as well?
acoustic, yeah. I don't play a lot of acoustic. I am not a very, I don't like playing a lot of acoustic kind of songs. If I pick up an acoustic guitar, I still end up playing my style. There is one song on the EP where I played acoustic, and it was one of the weirdest songs I've ever written. I love the song, and I'm so glad it's on the EP. But it was one of the like most uncomfortable songs that I've ever really tried to do because it's very chordy, and there's finger picking, and that's not really my style. I don't play in standard a whole lot. If you give me a guitar, it's getting put in drop D or drop C most of the time.
Yeah, that's another question I forgot to ask about the tuning. So you
Yeah,
play in drop? You say drop D and drop C?
I've played, typically I play in drop C. That's where my vocals tend to work a little bit better is in C. So I like it in drop C. I really like drop tunings because I like to do a lot of octave stuff. The Journey's a good one, the way with that one. So the bass was actually in drop D, but I have a D tuner on the pedal that puts it into drop C. That way,
Okay.
don't want the strings flopping around like crazy. So just use a D tuner on that. But, yeah, there's a lot of octave play in that Journey riff, and that probably goes back to a lot of the southern that you were picking up on, like the southern riffs and stuff, and like some of that bluesy and southern stuff. I actually have one that um, it's very different from the Journey, but it's kind of in that same vein there, and I do some like slides with it and stuff, and it's very, very bluesy. And then I kind of go from like blues to metal with it, and it's something that I'm kind of working on. I don't know if it's going to be an instrumental or if it's going to be like a full vocals and everything, but yeah, like I do a lot of like octave stuff with that. I love like ghost chords. octave chords. I love putting those in songs. I try not to overuse them, but I like when I can incorporate them and it actually fits the song well. I love using those. But yeah, one reason why I love playing. I still play in standard. It's not that I don't play in standard. I have different guitar for kind of each thing. So like the Inspiria typically stays in drop C. When I was played with Blue Ridge Revival, I think I went up to C sharp. They play like
C
what
sharp,
do they play?
C sharp standard, or
No, drop C sharp. Drop C sharp. So they play in half step down. So yeah, I just dropped the top string even further and just put it into drop, C sharp there. But or D flat, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, typically the Inspiria stays in drop C. The basses, all my basses typically stay in standard. I try not to like detune them too much. Drop D is about as far as I try to go with them. My Fender Strat, I keep it in standard most of the time. It's my blues guitar, so it's when I'm wanting to kind of get a different feel and get away from metal. That's the one I specifically pick up and I'll play, in standard and play blues and maybe a little AC/DC, something like that. No, yeah, single coil. It's SSS, so single.
Okay, cool.
And it's got the oh gosh, what pickups I put? So it was a cheaper Strat that my wife got when she was younger, and if you don't mind, I'll show it real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. No,
Okay.
no problem. No problem.
It's right here. So.
I'm actually curious. So. Even though I'm not a Strat guy, but I used to have one back in the day.
Being a blues guy, I love Strats, but this one, so this was like the 20-year edition of the Squier Strat, and
Okay, so it's a Squier.
yeah, it's a Squier, so it's not even a Fender.
Yeah, because
but
I used to have a Squier as well.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
but
Red.
when
And that is red. Is it
yeah.
red?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's red.
Of course,
It's
it's
red.
red. Yeah.
But my wife didn't play it a whole lot. She has a Gretsch that we bought her a couple of years ago. So my wife plays guitar as well. And she has a Gretsch that she plays way more. She'll play acoustic a little bit more. She never played this one quite as much. So I told her, I was like, I want to take it and put some love into it. So I actually put a Squier Stratocaster 40-year edition neck on it. And
Wow.
she had the, I'm terrible with the names, but the maple that's like the darker brown, I think it is. She had, is it
Maybe you mean like the mahogany?
mahogany? Yes, sorry. This
Yeah.
one I think is maple. This is maple, right?
Yes.
But she
I
had
mean,
the
I guess.
darker. She had the darker neck on there, and I've always loved this type of neck. So again, put the this neck on here, the lighter neck. I put black tuners on it, because again, I just love the black tuners. Replaced the pick guard, and then I took like the covers for the pickups. So actually, I had the Fender Deluxe Drive. I'm probably mixing that one up. I wanted the Stevie Ray Vaughan pickups is what I wanted, but they were a little bit more expensive, so I got these, but everybody said they kind of had like a similar tone for a little bit cheaper and that these were the way to go. But yeah, did all that, but I took the pickup covers and the knob selector, I took those off, and you probably can't tell it, I may have to get it a little closer, but they're like, I took spray paint and like flicked paint on them, so they're like, kind of have like an Eddie Van Halen look.
Yeah.
So
It's cool.
I joke that this guitar is I forget what I have a joke name for it, that it's like it's a mix between Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
But Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix, kind of going back to influences, those are two of probably my biggest influences. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's probably one of my favorite guitar players of all time. Jimmy too, but I like Stevie a little bit more. He's got that like the Texas blues thing that I kind of really enjoy. So, but
Cool.
put this back now.
Yeah, I think it's very important when you have a guitar that you customize that according to, your preferences as a guitar player. So I do the
Yeah.
same. I even like the Inspiria guitars that I have are customized. I change
Yeah.
some parts, here and there, pickups, and also the look. Even though I'm not very paying attention to that, it's more like for me a studio tool. But I
Yeah.
see that for you, the look of those guitars is very important because you start
Yeah.
customizing the look first, but you do also changing, of course, the tuning mechanics. I always change them, because
Yeah.
it depends on the guitar, of course, but they
Yeah.
are part of your personality as a guitar player, I think, as well
Yeah. Very.
as the pickups, as the sound. Maybe
Yeah.
you want to play something on the guitar.
Sure. And actually, that's a perfect segue because I have
Yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah.
made this
Talking
my
about
own.
customization. Yeah, this is basically
Yeah.
your signature Inspiria guitar.
Yes. Very, very much. It's just not a it's one of one, but I put these really cool like red marble knobs on here. I put these pickup covers. I wasn't super crazy about the pickup covers, but they've grown on me. Ooh, excuse me. They've grown on me. They're a little bit they're kind of like shiny. So I wasn't a huge fan of that at
Hmm.
first, but they've grown on me. I was also jealous of the headless 8 string. I think that's what you said, where it had the Inspiria logo on there. So I had my own
Yeah,
Inspiria
I mean
decal made and put
all the headless. Yeah, we have the
all the
headless
headless.
6, 7, and 8. They all have
Yeah,
the logo there. It's more like a practical thing because we didn't have any other
yeah,
space for
right,
having the
right.
logo on. But I think it looks pretty good. That's why I was kind of
Yeah.
confused when I saw that guitar in the beginning. I was like, did it buy a headless Inspiria? I didn't know about that. And then I saw the
No,
headstock, and then I was like, okay, that's a customization kind of thing. Yeah,
yeah.
it
I
looks
got I
very
got
cool. Very, very
got
cool.
jealous. I put a it's gonna be upside down, but I put one on the back as well, just to kind of have like a
Uh-huh.
cool look. I put the and I think you've seen this. I got the I'm a Geiger affiliate, so
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
yeah, I put Geiger. These are the so they're not locking tuners, but they're locking in the sense that they lock the string when you're going to put the string on. They don't lock as in like they're not like Floyd Rose. They're not locking in that sense,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Mm.
they lock the string into place and so that you can actually put the strings on a lot easier. That was one of the things I didn't mind the old tuners. They weren't nothing wrong with them,
Can
but I
can you
seen
show that
that
on camera?
yeah, if it'll show up.
It's kind of difficult to see.
Oh
Everything
yeah, there we
is
go.
black, so yeah. Okay, locking tuners. Yes, yes. Very
Yeah,
cool.
see it's got like a little
Mm.
tuning knob right there. But yeah,
Hmm.
and this is my go-to guitar, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on stream with Inspiria. This is actually my go-to guitar.
Cool. So I leave you the stage. What's the name of the song?
This song is called "With Faith We Rise," um, and this was the song I was talking about earlier, where I wrote this for the talent competition. So I played this in front of a lot of church people, and I don't think they knew what to think. But I had a whole story behind it. I've honestly forgotten exactly what the story is. I have a little bit of a gist. I won't go into it, but yeah, I wrote this song when I was probably 19 years old. I want to say, and I just turned 33
Ah,
this week. So
okay, 33. Yeah.
get her going here. Switch over real quick. Again, I'm using the Headrush MX5 as my pedal for both guitar and bass. All right.
Cool. So the stage is yours. Take your
All
time.
right. Ooh.
cool. I remember the song. Hold on. I'm muted. I'm not muted. Do you hear me?
No, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I remember the song was the song of the video you did for Inspiria, the first video, right?
Yes, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
This is
So that's
good.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is that song is probably, you know, like I've said before, it's definitely not the most technical, not the fastest, but that is probably my favorite song that I've ever written. Probably because of the time when it came out in my life, and when I first started writing it, what I was going through and everything. And it, just a lot of nostalgia, a lot of feeling in it, and I'm proud of the evolution of that song and where it started to where it is now. Yeah. I
Yeah. Okay.
love that
So
song.
the version of the video was different from this one. This one was more complex, I think, right? The always the same structure.
From the video that I did of it.
Yeah.
Probably because I did. There's a couple of like backing guitar parts. So the video, I had all the parts in there, like the shoot, what is it? I muted it. But the part where I'm doing like I'm still doing the underneath that, and then towards the end. There's several different ones, but probably my favorite one that's like underneath of it that I can't play. Obviously, I can't play two guitar parts at once, but there's the part at the end that's kind of a little bit on the happier side that like kind of ends the song on a happier note. That's like.
Cool.
So
And
like, yeah.
that's instrumental only, or are you planning to add vocals in it? Because that's not
So
released. This song is not released, right?
yeah, this song's on the EP. Yeah, this is one of the three
Is
instrumentals on there.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this was shoot, this is probably the second on the EP. So there's the two songs that I played today are the oldest two songs probably that I have. The Journey was originally written in my first band that I was in. And originally I didn't write the lyrics for that. It was me and another person. We were just a 2-person group. And that person actually wrote most of the lyrics for that song. But when I decided back in a couple years ago that I wanted to release that song and make it my own, I reached out to them, got their permission, and I actually the only parts of that song that are the same are lyrically the first verse. I think is the same. Everything else has been rewritten. I rewrote most of it to match my vocal style. He's got definitely like a higher choir boy kind of voice, so I rewrote it to be better for my vocals and to be better for my singing patterns and cadences and just be a little bit more personal for me anyway. In the second part of in the second verse, it actually talks about, it mentions my bout with suicide, which is something that I dealt with when I was younger. So that was something that I added in, talking about that. But, yeah, as far as the lyrics, I rewrote 90% of the lyrics, and I wrote the music part anyway. He was a drummer. So he did drums and singing. I did guitar and what would have been bass. That's why there's, I had to add in the bass. There was no bass. It was a 2-man group. He did drums. I did guitar. So that's pretty much what was played even in the first earliest iterations of it. The big thing that changed was I took what was the chorus progression, which was. And I put that as the bridge. So that's now the bridge progression. The chorus progression is pretty similar, but it's. So same chords, but just a different feel with it.
How many songs do you have on the EP?
There's 5 actual songs, and then I wrote like a skit as the intro, and I actually wrote like a little 30-second song for it. So
Okay.
it's not like a full song, no vocals or anything, but I had like a little skit and it like leads into this really cool thing. I couldn't remember how
Hmm.
to play that now if I wanted to. I wish I could because it's such a cool little. Seriously, if you get a second, even if you skip past me like doing the little skit and talking and just get to the music, it has a really cool like little feel with that, and I need to go back and reteach myself how to play it. It's been a long time
Right.
since I've tried to play that one, but so 5.5, I guess, if you want to be generous. 5 if you don't want to be generous, but
Are
yeah,
you so this EP came out first last year, 1.5 year ago, right?
yeah, 2020,
Yeah,
January 19th, 2024.
2024.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're planning a new release soon?
I am. So I don't have like an EP or an album, and I think this is one of the topics you wanted to talk about in your stuff. But I'm not. I'll probably will release an EP at some point in time. I have about four. I think it's 4 or 5 songs. For the sake of just my sanity with everything going on this year with the baby and everything. I think I originally said I wanted to release 3 songs. That's going to be more like maybe 2
Singles?
if I'm lucky. So
So just singles?
yeah, and what I'll probably do more than likely is I might release 1 or 2 singles and then release like an EP is like a 4 or 5 song EP. Hopefully, me and my writing partner actually, we had a session yesterday. I'm off work from my main job while for paternity leave right now, so trying to utilize that while we can. But we actually had like a recording session yesterday. We're working on a song, so that one you could actually add in too. So it's not my song, but I'm being featured on a song of hers. I'm doing guitar work, and then I'll have a solo on there, and I'm doing
Hmm.
producing it and stuff. But we're working on that song for her, and then I'm working on the single for me. So but yeah, I'll probably release 1, 2 singles, and then I'm hoping in maybe like 2026 release like a 4 or 5 song EP.
Yeah.
I feel like
Do you?
go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like for me like 4 or 5 songs and in an EP is a little bit more obtainable just with because I'm not doing this professionally in the manner that I'm not making a bunch of money. I'm not making enough money to supplement not having to work a day job. So, I don't get to spend every day doing this. Sometimes I don't get to pick up a guitar for a week. So I have to take that into, account. And, I'm very blessed to have made the progress and, had the things happen in the last year that I've had happen, but I'm still a guy that, does this as, when I can kind of thing. I hate saying hobby. I don't like saying hobby because it's not a hobby. It's a passion. And if I'm not doing it, I'm thinking about it. But
it's always the same thing that I think about. I mean, music. I think, and then if I'm not right, whatever, I understand that my point of view is not universal, but I feel that music is a lifestyle.
mhm,
Being a musician is a lifestyle. So it's not like. I mean, I play soccer. You call it. We call it football here.
mhm, yeah,
You
yeah,
call it soccer. That's my hobby. You know.
right.
But
Yeah,
so music I feel is more like a lifestyle. So you something that if you
100%.
are very into that, you do that from when you start until the day you die, basically.
Yeah,
So it's very weird to call it hobby because it's a
yeah,
different thing.
yeah.
So
And
it
g-
basically it
g-
describes
oop,
who you are in a way.
yeah, yeah. And kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, like, you know, I work the day job that I have at the moment, but, at some point, I I don't ever see me going full time with Trey Tate music. I just don't see that being a possibility. I don't know that I would see myself going full time as being a performing artist, but at some point, I would love to at least be. I would love to at least be going past part time and actually be doing like half and half. But the goal is to work in music at some point in some capacity, like we were talking about with this, the different skills of like I definitely wouldn't consider myself a producer at this point, but the way that I kind of worded it was like I can help. I would love to work full time helping local bands get past just being a local band. That's
Hmm.
one thing I've been blessed to do in the last year. Kind of going back to my history as a musician, even past being in worship bands and stuff. I've been in a couple of bands, and like the band that we originally wrote the journey in, we never made it past the garage. We had one show. We wrote like 10 songs, and we were together for like 2 years. We had maybe one or two shows, I think. And then my next band, 2013, and we're still going today. We just don't play as much, but All Came as One, which is a Christian rock, Christian contemporary band. And like I said, I've been doing that since 2013, and we did that. We were known regionally, so we weren't a national band by any means, but we made quite a bit of headway in our area and up to, I'd say, probably within 100 miles. And we got a lot of opportunities. We got to open up for a lot of big names in the Christian contemporary world. I don't know if you would know any of them, so I won't rattle them off. But there was a more than a handful of bands, and I've actually got them like listed on my EPK and stuff. But we got to open up for a guy that I think won or was like runner up on American Idol. We got to open up for him in our area just randomly. We got to open up for probably the biggest band we got to open up for was a band called Building 429. And they're a national act. We got to open up for them not once, but twice. And they remembered us the second time and actually came in and said on our set. And then with my solo stuff, even though I'm a studio artist, people think, oh, well, okay, he's studio. He's probably not being, doing all that much. I've been heard further doing my studio stuff than we really kind of had in the band doing what we were doing and gigging. Like, like I said earlier, I've been blessed to be on like some national radio stations and make it on the charts. And I've never really left my office. I mean, I want to at some point, but it kind of goes back to like, I don't really want to be like, well, it's not that I don't want to. I don't know how I would orchestrate a full show with what I do, because I'm going back and forth between vocals. I'm going back and forth between guitar, bass, and that complicates things. That means I got to take, even if I show up somewhere and they've got the mic, I still have to get my voice ready as an instrument. I still have to bring a guitar. I still have to bring bass. And I'm working on, making things more compact. That's why I've went to like the MX5. And instead of having an actual amp, I have a Harbinger monitor, and actually would like to go to a Headrush, one of the FR Headrush monitors that they have that are like actually for that. But, I'm thinking of ways to do that stuff. It's just not happening right now. But things like that are already in, like, it's always in my head. Like, I want to go do that stuff. Now I like being a studio artist. I like not being on the road, 250 days a year. I have a family. I have, wife, kid, and, I have a lot of family here that depend on me. And if I'm not here, I can't. Let me rephrase that. So I come from, I don't come from well-to-do family, right? I come from people that have had a lot of hardships, and, there's a lot of people that need me here. So that's not to say that I, don't want to go. Like I said, I do want to go do shows. I'm just not planning on ever being like full-time touring. I like being able to do music here.
I completely understand. At the same time, nowadays it's a completely different story. So it's the traditional way of being a musician might not be applying at what you do at the moment. If you have your creative, like platform, it might be YouTube or whatever, and you have like a structure in a way, where you release music, you have your live stream on YouTube, you produce band and all this. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to kind of establish your brand as a musician. I mean, you say, I'm not seeing myself like being full time, but at the same time, I mean, your brand
in that capacity,
your brand is not only doing like the album and the touring and the album and the touring, which is some kind of I mean, it's still there, of course, but there are different ways nowadays to make a living out what you're doing, and still everything starts with the music anyways,
Oh yeah.
Otherwise you wouldn't be there doing those things,
Yeah. And like I said earlier, I really have a passion for like local bands, and like I've been trying to like to get with more local artists, and I'm trying to do that. And not even so much local artists in my area. I probably should say that, but like I would love to work with just bands that are on that smaller scale that are trying to, not so much
do the next step.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about like getting signed to a record label or anything like that, but just like taking what they do and like adding some of those more professional elements that I've kind of been able to do with like even if it's just recording a demo. Sure, I might not be the guy that you come to record a full album and it be top tier, but you come to me, I can help you record a demo that you can send to somebody and like kind of get an idea, get the next steps, maybe because like with me, when I'm writing a song, it starts with a guitar, and then that's one layer. I start recording that demo, and then I have the layer and layer and layer, and then I can start hearing it and put together something later. But that photography, videography, like I want to help bands do stuff like that, and that's something I would 100% do that full time. That is something that I've actually talked to my wife and even my dad about. Like I would love to do this, but I don't know how to like turn it into a full time. But that's something that eventually that I would love to do full time is work in that capacity, still being able to do my music, still being able to play and do all the things that I love to do and be able to do it like that. I 100% I agree with you there. And it is it I always talk to I have a buddy of mine that he wants to make it and be a famous musician. I'm like, listen, man, you can make money in music today, but you're not. You've got to kind of scale back of being like getting signed to a label and being a millionaire overnight. Like it's going to be a grind. You're going to have to pick up other skills that you use and utilize in your music, and maybe even use those for other musicians and stuff to kind of supplement. And but I have to tell him all the time. I'm like that. In today's scope of things, it's so much easier to get seen, to be heard, to have a presence, but it's not as easy to have the money behind it. I don't care about the money when it comes to music. I do this for free 100% of the time. I do not. For me, it is very much about the art. It's about the creativity.
Well, that's the first. I mean, the starting point is that
Yeah,
I mean, you shouldn't do this for the money. If I had to do something for the money,
yeah,
I would have
yeah,
done something else, completely
yeah,
something else, because and then again, I don't know if my experience is universal, but of course, I did struggle in my life and economically in some years ago, because of course it's probably it's the most difficult business to be in, I guess.
yes,
I'm not
yeah,
sure because I didn't do any other kind of business, even though I did other jobs.
yeah,
But if you're after the money, you should just leave it and do something else. So
100%.
you do that because that's who you are. That's your creative output in a way, and then eventually it's going to turn into a job.
Yeah,
If you work hard, you're passionate about it. You in the ball, you don't give up.
yeah,
It's going to turn into something that you do for a living. But the desire to give, like like to have this expression in music, it's the most important thing. It's the thing that is going to keep you doing that for the rest of your life. As I say, it is a lifestyle. So
yeah,
in my case, I always felt there was no other choice. That it was the
yeah,
thing that I was supposed to. And I actually had doubts about it. Is that going to be turning into a job? I don't think so, actually. I'm gonna
right,
keep doing this, but I don't think
yeah,
I'm gonna make it. And then suddenly things started to work out. But
yeah,
and then at the same time, as I said, it's not just about like making music, going on tour, making music, going on tour. There is a lot of different things to take care about. That's why
yeah,
I was basically saying that you're really good at promoting and doing all those things, because you understood that to establish your brand, you need to do different things. It's not
yeah,
just about playing. You know,
yeah,
even though
yeah,
that's the first thing, but then there is
yeah,
another world that opens.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah. So you know what? I think we are basically wrapping it up because we hit 1.5 hour. It
yeah,
was a big pleasure, and it was a lot of fun to talk to you about all those things. Maybe I just
yeah.
have like another last question, which I was supposed to ask before,
Sure.
about you said you're doing EP and singles. Do you think that the album is still a thing? Do you think it's still relevant? You know?
I definitely think it is relevant. I think it's important. I think that in the landscape of today, you have to kind of play ball with singles, because singles are not to say that singles are filler, but those singles fill the gap in between.
Yeah.
When you're putting out a whole
Yeah.
because a whole project, my EP, which it was my debut EP. It was the first EP that it was the first body of music that I put out solo, just me doing everything, and it took me 4 years, and it was only 5 songs,
Yeah.
and but there's so much that went into it, and again, when I started, when I went and started which I've had my Trey Tate music page, I've had that since 2010 or 11, something like that, maybe 12.
Okay.
But I didn't actually start trying to get it to more of a point to what it is until probably 2019. Before 2018, I would post guitar covers and stuff, and that's kind of how I would have it. Because like I said, I have terrible ADHD, so if I write something, I'm not going to remember exactly what I played if I don't record it. If I learn a cover,
I actually write it down.
Do you? Okay.
Because learning that from scratch afterwards is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Like note by note and all that. So every time I write something, I record and then I transcribe that because I know that otherwise it's going to be a mess. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're good. You're good. I've done that some as well. I don't do that quite as much because I'm pretty good at just with my style and being able to watch my hands. I'm decent at being able to watch back a video and being able to tell what I play. Because usually, especially if I record it and then watch it within a couple of days to a week after, I'm going to be a lot better than if I record it and then watch it 6 months to a year from now. I'm gonna be like, I have no idea what to play. But if I do that and I record it, watch it a couple of days later, then I'll practice along with it. But come back to the Facebook thing. That's kind of what I was using my Facebook page for. Is I would post covers. So if I learned a cover, I would take a video of me, put it up there, and I don't do especially now I don't do a lot, as many covers, just because I don't have as much time to learn stuff since I'm working on my actual my stuff. I still have some that I'm working on and that I do and that are Shine by Collective Soul will always be one of my favorite guitar riffs to play. But yeah, so in 2019, I think that's when I got the MacBook Pro and I got GarageBand and I said, I'm going to record something. And then within a year or two, I was like, I think I want to put out an EP. So I think I started in 2020, to be specific. I started in 2020 and it took me 4 years to get it done. But I was also, it wasn't like it was taking me 4 years to just write music. It was taking me 4 years to learn the software more, get a better setup, because I was running off of a USB mic that cost $40 off of Amazon. So I went from that to the Shure SM7B. Went from a $40 microphone to a $400 microphone. So, things like that took time. It was also a process of, I had never been a singer so much. I've done backup vocals in bands, but I've never been a lead singer in my life. And so I had to kind of teach myself in that time to find where my voice was, I guess is the best way to put it, and figure out, I had been screaming, just not on a recording, but I had been screaming since I was probably 18. The first band I was in, that's what I did. I didn't sing really. I just did screams. I did terrible screams, and I did not do screams that it would have ruined my voice if I would have kept screaming like that. Luckily, I kind of figured out, watched YouTube videos and kind of taught myself how to scream better. But the screaming wasn't that hard. It was the singing for me that took a while, and it did not come naturally. It still doesn't to this day. I have to push myself. I kind of have to record it. And then go back and kind of refigure out, the new song that I'm working on, which I don't even have a title for the song, but the song is pretty much completely written, and I've already started recording it. I've got scratch tracks for guitar and vocals on it. Bass is the last thing I'll probably do on it, but I don't really need a scratch track for bass, but I have a scratch track for vocal and guitar. And the first scratch track I did for the chorus, I was like, I can't hit what I'm trying to hit there. And then I sent it to one of my label mates and was just just kind of sent it to him, see what he thought. And he agreed. He was like, that's off on the chorus. And then I was like, I'm going to rewrite the chorus part. So I rewrote it and then plugged it back in. I didn't even change the vocal part. I just rewrote the chorus part put it back
Okay.
in with the old vocals, and was like, that's already 100% better. It's not so much that my voice was the issue, is that the phrasing that I was using, the chords that I was using, wasn't matching what I was trying to sing. So, you know, and that probably goes back to because I am self-taught, because I am a YouTube guitar player. I mean, not a YouTube guitar player, but because I am somebody that taught myself from YouTube, and I've taught myself a lot of music stuff from bass. I'm more knowledgeable when it comes to music from the bass perspective, you know, as far as that, than I am the guitar. Now I've learned scales, and I know that was a question you had in there as well, and I know we're
Yeah.
wrapping up, but I've learned a couple of scales, you know, like major, the major scale. I've learned pentatonic, you know, some blues scale that I don't fully remember, but I remember like kind of that, like the using those three notes back to back.
Hmm.
And I don't remember exactly what, you know, scale I remember, because like I said, I don't have the best memory, so memorizing every little thing, for me, is never going to be like the objective. It's taking away from that and utilizing it, and that's something I use a lot in my music when especially when
Hmm.
I'm soloing. I'll do like a
That's a chromatic scale.
chromatic scale. Okay, yeah. So you know, the pentatonic and the major are the ones that I probably know more off the top of my head. There's other ones that I've played with and tried to like take from, um, but there's so many patterns. My brain goes, I'm not gonna remember everything, but I'm at least gonna take some parts from that and incorporate that into my technique and stuff. But I did want to. I seen that on there, and that was something I want to talk about, because I do know some music, and I do know some music theory. I'm not like trained. I've not actually had somebody sit down with me and actually go with me. So it's kind of spotty. Like, I know parts here, I know parts here, I know parts here. And then I take it and kind of, I do the best that I can. And I rely a lot on, you know, one thing that I've had way better guitarists than me compliment me on is my creativity. The fact that I don't come at it, and I'm not a guy that's like, okay, I'm just picking up the guitar and fiddling around. It's not so much that. It's just that I don't, you know, there's different factors of why I know that I'm not going to be a traditional guitarist in the way that I do things. I have really short hands. I can't, like, you know, a lot of this hurts when I try to do a lot of this. I have, you know, early carpal tunnel, and it's actually it's gotten a little bit better since I've lost a bunch of weight, but I've had really bad
Yeah,
carpal tunnel.
this was actually another question
Yeah, yeah,
that I sent you. You know, injuries being a
yeah.
guitar player, so it's very interesting.
Yeah, and the carpal tunnel doesn't even so much come from guitar playing. I'm sure it does to some degree, but I work in IT, so I'm on a keyboard all day, and you know, phone, just
It's
repetitive, just
it's a lot of
yeah,
things at the same
yeah,
time. It might be even
yeah,
coming from the neck. You know,
yeah, and
like I have a you know, like the generation on one of the discs here, and it's
yeah,
pretty easy to know why. There are two things. One is called being in a metal band for 20 years, doing headbangings, a professional metal band, which means playing concert every day on tour,
every
and
day,
doing headbanging every day since the age of 15, 16 probably. And the
yeah,
second thing is practicing the guitar, because it's
yeah,
a very not natural position and not natural kind of
yeah,
movement for the
yeah,
tendons and the muscles and all this. So, but at the same time, it's everybody who do like something as a work is gonna go
yeah,
through
yeah,
physical problems related to that work that you do,
yeah,
like sometimes 8 10 hours a day, you know. So
yeah. And you know, when all came as one, I mean, when we were playing at our heaviest, we I think one year we played at least 30, 40 shows, which for a group of people that's, you know, not doing it professionally and doing day jobs, that's kind of, you know, that's 2 and 3 times a weekend. So, and it's funny because I was talking about me, you know, losing weight. I've lost, in the past year, I've lost about 100 pounds,
yeah,
and
I can see that.
I got back in the gym last July. So I've been in the gym, back in the gym for a year, and I would have been a little bit longer. I actually had physical therapy because I had back issues from an old job I had. So once I got done with physical therapy, I got back in the gym. But it was so funny when I started working out again. I was showing my wife, this shoulder is so defined, and it looks like this shoulder looks almost like a bodybuilder, and then this shoulder looks like nothing. I can flex, and it's like I've been training this shoulder specifically. Like I'll work this shoulder twice as hard as this one, but I've been playing in bands, on stage and stuff since I was 17, 16, 17. So it's legitimately like 18 years of abuse, the wear and tear on here, and, playing bass. Sometimes basses can be heavier, and I like my carving. I played with that thing on stage for several years. I actually kind of stopped playing with it on stage because it was so heavy, because it's made out of koa wood, Hawaiian koa
But
wood.
the Inspiria is pretty light, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Comparing to that, at least.
It's always,
I mean,
well,
the
bass,
the guitar
bass.
is very light. The guitar is very
Yeah.
light, but
Yeah. But yeah, both of them are, very nice and balanced, and not super crazy on my shoulders. And I've also learned about, like, this one's it's thinner, but it's got like a neoprene comfort kind of shoulder pad on it. The basses, I don't do anything thin on the basses anymore. They have to have padding on the basses now. Where we play at church, we can play for the 20, 30 minutes that we play for, and by the end of it, my shoulder's like, it's dead. But
do you stand or you sit?
I stand. Yeah, I
You
stand.
always stand when you play live.
So that's something I've gotten back into. So before I lost the 100 pounds, I got to where I couldn't stand for a long period of time like that because of my back issues. But losing the weight and actually getting my back corrected and stuff with the physical therapy helped so much. But I went from, this is back when I was playing in, so before it was Blue Ridge Revival, it was, and I think I mentioned this to you when I actually applied for the endorsement, but I was playing bass for what was called the Outlaw Coalition is what the name was. It was a country band. And we were together. We were playing out at like bars and stuff for probably about a year before that. And most of the shows I had to take a stool with me and I was sitting. So right around the time that I got signed, right around the time that I got endorsed, by Inspiria, that's when things started changing with my weight and started, getting things kind of situated there with my back. And I started playing standing now. Now for church, typically during run through, I'll sit on my stool just to kind of conserve my back. But during service, I stand. I'll always stand during service now. So
it's funny because I had some problems with my back as well. Like when I was actually almost your age, I'm 45 now. At that time, I was 32,
Yep.
and but it was the opposite way around. I couldn't actually sit.
Really? Okay.
So I had to stand all the time, and it was kind of. I remember I stand for 1.5 years because it took a long time to fix the problem. My back it was no surgery; it was just about physical therapy.
Yeah.
Which when you are still in your 30s, you still have the option of fixing things with physical therapy. Physical and going to the gym and stuff like that. And my back now is better than it used to be in my 30s, and it might be even in my 20s in some ways.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny that I couldn't actually sit, so I had to stand. And when I was working in the studio, I had to put the table up. I mean, I had to put everything on another chair on the table because I couldn't actually sit. So I had to stand on with the guitar. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's the way it works. It's not always easy to be a musician. So there are a lot of things you go through, and so. So that was actually the last question, but we carried until 1 hour and 50 minutes. But it was a long chat, but it was very pleasant, and hopefully people at home they picked up a lot of things that are helpful when it comes to gear and the work of the musician when it comes to just making music or promoting as an artist.
Yeah.
And are you going to NAMM?
I don't know. I haven't planned that far ahead yet. It is not. I've never been, so I would absolutely love to go. My friend Jaden, the one, my friend, the one whose band I work for, he's actually from California. He's got family that lives in Anaheim, and we joked about trying to go last year. And then I found out my wife was pregnant, and like I said, that's just kind of it's put everything on pause. But I would
Of
absolutely
course.
love to, and if I can work it out, and I talked to my wife. I was like, I would like to go. I would love to, especially even if you guys don't have me playing or anything. I don't care about that, but like I would totally run around with an Inspiria badge and just, you know,
Yeah,
all
I
that.
mean, if it's still early for us to say if we're going to be at. I think we're going to be at NAM. That's the plan every year, but then it
Right.
depends on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So usually I wait until at least I will be at NAM for sure.
Right.
So
Yeah.
as a person, I will be there. But are we going to have the booth? I'm not sure. I think so, but it depends on a lot of
Yeah.
different things. Like, do we still have enough guitar to bring to NAM in that period?
Yeah.
How is going to be the balance between expenses and all that? And but the plan is to be there. So if we're going to be there and we're going to have a booth there, you will be more than welcome to come to the booth and
Yeah.
play some guitar or some bass, maybe jam a little bit with me or the other
Yeah.
artist of Inspiria Guitars, because it's very important. You know, as I told in the beginning, Inspiria Guitars is a place to kind of do networking between artists, and everybody work for everybody there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a place to hang out, and establish new collaboration and all this. So
Yeah.
you're gonna be our guest,
Yeah.
and of course you're gonna get the badge from us. So
Yeah.
it would be also great to meet in person, since we spoke a
Yeah.
couple of times, but we never met so far.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
I
so
would
really,
I would absolutely I would love to, and I will. Like I said, I'm looking into it, and I would absolutely love to. The hard part with it is, which I mean, you're coming from further than I am. I
yeah.
think you are anyway. I'm not. I get so lost how that all works, but it's like completely across the country from me. From like it's almost equally across the country from where I'm at to Anaheim, California. But it is a goal to get out there. So um, it's hard to say when, but at some point I will be out there. I will say that at some point I'll be out there.
Yeah, just let me know. So you're
Will
gonna
do.
be our
Yeah.
guest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Let's
Thank you.
keep in touch. Thank you. Thank you very much to everybody who listened to, and see you all guys at the next live stream sometimes in the future. One
Thank
more
you.
time, Trey Tate on Inspiria Guitars live stream. See you guys later.